The night was darker than usual, and the wind howled through the small countryside town. Rain poured down in heavy sheets, drumming against windows and rooftops. Most people were asleep, warm in their beds, except for a little 6-year-old girl named Emily Carter. She sat up in her bed, hugging her teddy bear tight. The storm outside scared her, but that wasn't why she couldn't sleep. She kept hearing something, a faint, soft cry, almost like a baby's, carried by the wind. At first, Emily thought it was just her imagination. Maybe it was the wind playing tricks. But then she heard it again, a tiny trembling sound. It wasn't from the TV, not from the house. It was coming from outside. Emily slid out of bed and tiptoed to the window. The rain blurred everything, but through the flashes of lightning, she saw something strange behind the barn. A small glowing light, weak and flickering like a dying candle. Her heart began to race. "Mom," she whispered. But her parents were asleep. She could hear her dad snoring from the next room. The crying came again, soft, broken, and full of fear. Something in that sound made her chest hurt. It didn't sound like an animal. It sounded like someone was cold, scared, and alone. Without thinking, Emily grabbed her favorite pink blanket, the one with tiny white stars printed all over it. She wrapped it around her shoulders and slipped quietly out of her room. The wooden floor creaked under her small feet. She winced and paused, making sure her parents didn't wake up. Then she opened the back door. A blast of cold air hit her face, and the rain instantly soaked her hair. The world outside felt alive. Wind, thunder, the smell of wet earth. But somewhere in that chaos she heard it again, the cry. Louder now. She followed it behind the barn, her little shoes sinking in the mud. Lightning flashed across the sky, and that's when she saw it. A small shape was lying beside the wooden fence, shivering. It was not human. The creature looked like a baby, but its skin shimmered faint blue under the rain. Its head was slightly larger than normal, its eyes closed tight, glowing faintly through thin eyelids. It was wrapped in something like silver leaves that were half burned. Emily gasped. Fear gripped her for a second, but then the baby let out a weak sound, a soft whimper full of pain. It was freezing. "Oh no, you're cold," she whispered. She didn't think about what it was, where it came from, or what it meant. She just knelt down, pulled off her pink blanket, and wrapped it gently around the creature. The baby's shivering slowed. Its breathing softened. For a moment, the strange light around it grew stronger, casting a warm glow over Emily's face. Lightning flashed again, and Emily saw its tiny fingers, long and thin, tipped with tiny glowing dots like stars. It reached out and touched her cheek. She froze. The creature's skin was warm now, and suddenly a faint voice echoed inside her head. "Emily." She jumped back, looking around, heart pounding. No one was there. But the baby's eyes were open now, two soft golden lights staring right at her. It had spoken. Not out loud, but inside her mind, "Emily," it said again, weak but clear. "Cold, help." She felt a wave of warmth spread through her chest, a strange calmness mixed with fear. How did it know her name? She nodded without realizing it. "Don't worry, I'll help you." The creature blinked slowly, as if it understood. Its tiny hand gripped the edge of her blanket. Far above them, thunder rolled across the clouds. But this time, Emily noticed something else too. A strange blue light flickered in the sky, moving slowly, almost like a star that was searching. The baby looked up, frightened. Its tiny body tensed. The glow around it dimmed. "Hide," the voice whispered in her mind. "Hide." Emily didn't understand, but she obeyed. She lifted the small alien baby in her arms, it was light, almost weightless, and ran back toward the house. The wind pushed against her, rain stinging her face, but she didn't stop. By the time she reached the back door, her blanket was soaked and heavy. She closed the door quietly and stood there, breathing hard. The baby's glow had faded completely. It now looked almost human, except for its faintly glowing veins and pointed ears. "Don't cry," Emily said softly. "I'll keep you safe." She tiptoed back upstairs, the house silent except for the ticking of the old clock. In her room, she opened her toy box and gently placed the baby inside, wrapping it tighter in her pink blanket. The alien's golden eyes looked up at her once more. Its tiny hand brushed her fingers before closing again. It seemed to fall asleep instantly. Emily sat beside the toy box, watching it breathe. Outside, thunder crashed again and the wind screamed louder. Then all at once the lights in the room flickered, the bulb buzzed. Her night lamp glowed brighter, then dimmed. For a brief second, every device in the house seemed to hum with energy. The clock, the old radio, even her tablet on the desk. Emily looked down at the baby. The air around it shimmered faintly like heat rising from fire. Suddenly, her teddy bear moved a little, just a tiny twitch, as if touched by an invisible breeze. Emily's eyes widened. "What are you?" she whispered. The baby's eyes opened again, glowing softly, and this time the voice inside her head wasn't weak. "Friend." Then it closed its eyes again and fell silent. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but Emily no longer felt afraid. She didn't know why, but something inside her told her that her life, and maybe the whole world, had just changed forever. And high above the clouds, the blue light from before moved closer, scanning the town below, searching for something or someone. The morning sun broke through the gray clouds, leaving the world wet and shining. The storm had passed, but Emily barely noticed. She hadn't slept all night. Every few minutes, she'd peek inside her toy box to make sure the little creature, Leo, as she now called him, was still breathing. He looked peaceful now, wrapped in her pink blanket, tiny chest rising and falling slowly. The strange glow around his skin was gone, replaced by a soft warmth that reminded her of sunlight. Downstairs, she could hear her mom making breakfast. "Emily, time to eat." Emily jumped. "Coming," she shouted, then whispered to Leo, "Don't make a sound, okay? I'll bring you something." The creature blinked once as if it understood. Emily ran downstairs, trying to act normal. Her mom smiled, setting pancakes on the table. "You look tired, honey. Did the storm keep you awake?" She nodded quickly. "Yeah, it was really loud." Her dad folded the newspaper. "Strangest thing," he muttered. "Power went out for a few minutes last night. Half the town says their radios picked up weird signals during the storm." Emily froze. Weird signals. She remembered the lights flickering when she found Leo. Her mom laughed it off. Probably just static from the lightning. But Emily's dad frowned. "No, I checked. The readings were too strong. Something big must have been up there." Emily bit her lip and kept eating. Her heart pounded. If Dad finds out, they'll take Leo away. After breakfast, she slipped a few pieces of bread and fruit into her pocket and hurried upstairs. When she opened her toy box, Leo was sitting up. The blanket glowed faintly again. His eyes followed her, calm but alert, and his mouth moved like he was trying to copy her words. "Hello," she said quietly. Leo tilted his head. "Hello," Emily gasped, covering her mouth. "You can talk." The baby's voice was tiny, broken, but it smiled proudly, a strange, sweet smile that made her heart melt. She handed him a piece of bread. "You must be hungry." He sniffed it, then hesitated. Tiny golden lights flickered around his hands. The bread dissolved into sparkles and vanished. Emily blinked. Okay. I guess that works too." Leo giggled softly, the sound like a mix of a chime and a laugh. Suddenly, a sharp buzz filled the room. Emily turned toward the window. A black drone hovered just outside, its red light blinking. Her stomach dropped. The drone swept its camera across the yard, scanning. It lingered on her window for a few seconds. Emily ducked down, holding Leo close. When the drone moved away, she whispered, "They're looking for you, aren't they?" Leo's glow dimmed. He looked scared. His voice echoed faintly in her mind again. "Bad man. They want me. For power." Emily's breath caught. "Power?" He nodded weakly and pointed toward the forest beyond the hills. A brief flash of holographic light burst from his hand, showing a glowing image, a ship half buried under trees, pulsing with blue light. Then it faded, her eyes widened. "Your ship crashed there." He didn't answer, just stared down, trembling slightly. Emily looked toward the forest through the window. It wasn't far, maybe half an hour's walk. But she couldn't just leave. Not yet. She heard footsteps in the hallway. Quickly, she hid Leo back in the box, pulling her blanket over him. The door opened and her dad stepped in. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" Emily forced a smile. "Uh-huh. Just playing." He nodded slowly. "Be careful, okay? There've been people driving around asking questions. They said they're from weather control, but something feels off." Her heart raced. Weather control? Yeah, he frowned. They were looking for strange energy sources. You didn't see anything weird last night, did you? Emily hesitated for a second too long. No, Daddy, just lightning. He smiled faintly and left, closing the door behind him. Emily exhaled shakily. When she lifted the blanket again, Leo's golden eyes were glowing brighter now. The little alien seemed to sense danger too. She whispered, "Don't worry. I'll keep you safe, I promise." Leo reached out his hand again and touched her palm. The touch sent a warm pulse through her body, gentle like sunlight. And suddenly she felt something strange. Images flashed in her mind. Planets. Stars. A giant explosion. Leo's people running, a dark shadow spreading across space. Then the crash, the storm, and the voice of someone saying, "Find the Guardian." Emily stumbled back, gasping. The vision was gone. Leo looked at her, exhausted. She knelt beside him, eyes wide. "Guardian!" "Who's that?" He blinked slowly. "You." A chill ran down her spine. "Me?" He nodded, then closed his eyes, falling asleep again. Emily sat there for a long time, staring at him, her heart filled with confusion and wonder. She didn't understand what any of it meant, but she knew one thing for sure. Whatever Leo was, he needed her, and somewhere beyond the trees, someone, or something, was already coming to take him back. Morning light spilled through the windows, but Emily's world no longer felt bright. She kept glancing at the toy box where Leo slept, his faint golden glow hidden under her pink blanket. Every small sound in the house made her tense. Something in the air felt wrong, heavy, watching. Her dad had left early for work, and her mom was washing dishes downstairs. Everything looked normal, until a loud knock echoed at the front door. It wasn't the usual knock. It was sharp, slow, repeated twice. Knock, knock. Emily froze. The same strange chill she'd felt during the storm crawled up her back. Her mom wiped her hands and walked to the door. "Coming," she called, unaware that something dangerous was standing outside. Emily crept to the top of the stairs and peeked down. Two tall men stood on the porch wearing long black coats and dark glasses, even though the sun was shining. Their expressions were blank, too calm, too still. "Good morning, ma'am," said the first man, his voice smooth like glass. "We're from the National Weather Control Department. There was a magnetic anomaly in this area during last night's storm. We're just doing a quick inspection." "Magnetic anomaly?" Her mom repeated, confused. "Yes," the second man said. "Unusual readings. We need to check your property." "It's routine." Emily's chest tightened. She could see a small device in the man's hand, blinking blue lights beeping faintly. It looked almost alien itself. Her mom hesitated. "Is this really necessary?" "We didn't see anything strange." The first man smiled faintly. "Strange is often invisible, ma'am." Emily felt her stomach drop. "They're looking for Leo." She turned and ran back to her room silently, shutting the door and locking it. Inside the toy box, Leo stirred as if he could feel her fear. "Shh," she whispered. "They're here. They're looking for you." Leo's small hands trembled. His voice echoed faintly in her mind again. "Bad men, machines. They hunt." Downstairs, she heard her mom's voice, polite but nervous, as she let the men step inside. Emily's heart pounded. She didn't know what to do. The box was too obvious. The blanket glowed faintly whenever Leo breathed. She grabbed her backpack, opened it, and whispered, "We have to hide, okay?" Leo blinked weakly but nodded. She carefully lifted him, wrapping him tight in the blanket, and placed him inside the bag. His glow dimmed completely, like he was trying to hide himself. Then came footsteps. Slow, heavy, coming up the stairs. Emily's heart felt like it would burst. One of the men spoke. "You said you have a child, ma'am?" "Yes, Emily, she's upstairs playing." "Good, we'll need to check every room." Emily backed toward her window. Outside, the backyard was still wet from the rain. If she jumped, she might hurt herself, but maybe not too badly. Then came the creak of her door handle. Someone was trying to open it. "Emily," her mom called softly. "Sweetie, these men just want to make sure everything's fine." Emily's breath shook. She forced her voice to sound normal. "Okay, Mom. I'll come down." She glanced at Leo's sleeping face. "Hold on, little guy. We're leaving." Quietly, she opened the window. The cold morning air rushed in. She slung the backpack over her shoulders and climbed out onto the roof, her small hands gripping the edge tightly. Inside, the door opened, but the room was empty. One of the men frowned, scanning the area with his beeping device. It blinked faster, turning red. "Signal's strong," he said flatly. The subject was here. Meanwhile, Emily slid down the roof carefully and dropped into the wet grass with a soft thud. Pain shot up her ankle, but she didn't stop. She ran behind the barn, heart pounding. From the roof, the men appeared at the window, scanning the yard. One of them spoke into a communicator. "The child has contact. Initiate ground search." Emily ducked behind a haystack, trembling. She opened her backpack slightly. Leo's eyes met hers, and frightened but glowing again, faint gold. "It's okay," she whispered. "We'll go to the forest. You showed me your ship, remember?" Leo nodded slowly. A soft blue spark pulsed from his hand, and for a moment, Emily felt a strange calm wash over her, as if he was trying to protect her too. In the distance, she heard engines, vehicles, drones. The men weren't alone. Emily gritted her teeth and stood up, clutching her backpack. "We're going," she whispered. "No matter what." She looked back once toward the house, her home, her mother, everything she'd ever known. And then she ran. The forest loomed ahead, dark and deep, still wet from the storm. Somewhere inside, under the roots and shadows, Leo's ship was waiting, and behind her, the men in black suits followed, silent, patient, and relentless. The forest was quiet, too quiet for a morning after a storm. Every branch dripped with rain, and the air smelled like wet soil and pine. Emily ran as fast as her little legs could carry her, clutching the backpack that held Leo close against her chest. Her shoes splashed through puddles, mud sticking to her socks. Behind her, faint echoes of voices and metallic sounds followed. The men in black suits were searching. She could hear drones humming somewhere in the distance. "Almost there," she whispered, though she wasn't sure where there was. In her mind, Leo's weak voice whispered, "Follow light, warm light." Emily slowed down, panting, her breath forming small clouds in the cold air. She looked around, trees, shadows, nothing but endless green. Then between the trunks she saw it, a faint blue glow pulsing like a heartbeat. Her eyes widened. "There!" She followed the glow deeper into the woods. The light grew stronger, spreading across the ground in thin, glowing lines, like roots made of glass. When she stepped on them, they shimmered softly under her feet. The forest no longer felt natural. The air buzzed faintly, full of static energy. Emily felt tiny vibrations in her fingertips. "Leo, is this your ship?" she whispered. Her backpack moved slightly. "Yes," came the faint reply. "Home." Underground. She looked down. The glowing roots all met at one place, a small hill covered in moss and fallen leaves. The center pulsed brighter every second, like something alive was breathing beneath the soil. Emily knelt and brushed away the wet leaves. The ground felt warm. Then, to her surprise, the moss peeled back on its own, revealing metal underneath, smooth, silver, and shining. She gasped. "It's real." The metal rippled slightly, like water touched by the wind. It reacted to her touch. Suddenly, Leo's voice whispered urgently, "Put hand. Open." Her hand trembled, but she pressed her palm against the surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft light spread from where she touched. The hill began to shift, silent but powerful. The earth cracked apart in clean lines, and a doorway of light opened before her, leading down into the dark. Emily's eyes filled with awe. "It's beautiful." She stepped inside. The tunnel glowed faintly, covered in thin patterns that looked like stars and waves. It smelled like rain and electricity. As she walked deeper, the walls around her came alive with light, responding to her presence. Golden trails spreading where her small fingers brushed. "Energy." "You have it," Leo's voice said weakly. "Energy? Heart. Pure. Ship listens to you." Her steps slowed. The tunnel widened into a large chamber. Floating lights hovered in the air like glowing seeds illuminating a giant metallic structure. The ship's core. It was shaped like a giant heart made of glass and silver veins. Inside it, something pulsed slowly, dim, tired. Emily carefully set her backpack down and opened it. Leo blinked at the sight, his eyes shining brighter now. He reached out one tiny hand toward the core. This home, he whispered, must heal. Emily helped him out gently. The moment his small fingers touched the core, a wave of light swept through the chamber. The walls shimmered, the floor glowed, and suddenly, holograms appeared all around them. Visions of space, of worlds burning, of ships flying through darkness. Emily stepped back, stunned. She saw creatures like Leo, tall and graceful, fleeing explosions in the sky. One image showed Leo's mother, her eyes full of sorrow as she placed the baby inside a silver pod. Then everything went black. The vision faded. The ship's lights dimmed again. Leo fell weakly against her arm, breathing fast. "Need power," he whispered. "But your touch helps," Emily hesitated. Then she placed her hands on the glass core. The warmth spread instantly. The glowing lines under her skin flared softly and the ship responded. Lights rising, air vibrating gently. "Good," Leo said, smiling faintly. "You, Guardian." Before Emily could ask what that meant, a sudden beep 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 echoed through the chamber. Leo's eyes widened. They found us. Up above, muffled sounds grew louder. Engines, metal footsteps, the whirring of drones. The light from the entrance began to flicker red. Emily's heart raced. "We have to hide." Leo shook his head. "No, ship must wake. Only you can." She didn't understand, but something deep inside her, a strange warmth in her chest, told her he was right. She took a deep breath and pressed both hands firmly onto the glowing heart. The entire ship came alive with a thunderous hum. Outside, the forest blazed with blue light, bright enough to be seen for miles. Trees bent from the energy wave. The men in black stopped in shock, their scanners blinking red. Inside the ship, Emily stood in the center of swirling lights, her hair floating as energy filled the air. Leo opened his eyes and whispered one word: awakening. And then, the forest exploded in light. For a long moment, there was only light. It filled the forest, bright and alive, pouring out of the ground like a sunrise that had broken free from the earth itself. When it finally dimmed, the world was quiet again, except for the soft hum echoing beneath the soil. The ship had awakened. Emily stood at the center of the glowing chamber, trembling, her small hands still pressed against the glass-like core. Her hair floated gently, weightless in the golden air. The strange warmth that had spread through her body was still there, pulsing in rhythm with the ship's heart. Beside her, Leo was no longer weak. His eyes glowed brighter than before, twin suns filled with gratitude and something ancient. He looked both older and younger now, light shimmering under his skin. "You did it," he whispered, his tiny voice clear and full of wonder. "You woke my home." Emily blinked at the glowing walls around her. Patterns of light swirled like constellations, forming shapes. Stars, planets, beings of light and energy. "I don't understand," she said softly. "How can I do that?" "I'm just a kid," Leo tilted his head. "Not just. You have pure heart. The ship listens to hearts, not to power." Before Emily could ask more, the floor trembled slightly. Strange sounds echoed through the tunnels above. Thud, 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 boots, metal, and machines. The air changed, colder now, sharper. "The bad men are here," Leo said. Emily's chest tightened. "We have to hide." "No," Leo shook his head. "We must finish the link. Ship needs you." The glowing lines on the floor began to move, spiraling toward Emily's feet, wrapping around her like golden ribbons. They rose up her arms, merging with her skin in soft light. She gasped, but it didn't hurt. It felt like the ship was breathing through her. Suddenly, a voice filled the chamber. Not Leo's voice, but something vast and gentle, like a song that echoed across the stars. "Guardian detected. Link confirmed. Energy source, human empathy." Emily's eyes widened. "It's talking." Leo smiled weakly. "It knows you." Above them, muffled voices shouted. Then came the sound of drills and metal cutters. Sparks fell from the ceiling as holes began to appear. The men in black were breaking in. "Guardian," the ship's voice said again. "This vessel is damaged. Defense system offline. Energy transfer required." Emily didn't fully understand, but she knew what it meant. If she didn't help Leo and the ship, what would be captured? "Okay," she whispered. "What do I have to do?" The chamber brightened, showing her the core again. The light inside flickered weakly now, as if fading. Leo looked up at her. Place hands, think of warmth, life, all good things. Emily nodded slowly. She stepped closer and pressed both palms to the glowing heart. At first, nothing. Then her chest began to ache, not from pain but from emotion. She thought of her mother's smile, her father's laughter, her small home filled with the smell of pancakes. She thought of the night she found Leo freezing and alone. Tears rolled down her cheeks. The ship's light flared. The heart pulsed faster, stronger, brighter. Outside, the forest floor split open, glowing veins of gold cutting through the mud and trees. Birds scattered in terror as blue lightning cracked across the sky. Inside, Leo floated in the air, his body surrounded by energy. Yes, it's working, he said, his voice full of awe. Your love gives life. Emily smiled faintly, but her arms were shaking. It's a lot. Hold on, Leo whispered. Almost there. Then a deafening crash. A metal plate fell from the ceiling and a swarm of drones descended into the chamber. The men in black followed, weapons glowing with blue light. Target confirmed. One of them said coldly, Retrieve the subject. Contain the girl. Emily turned, shielding Leo behind her. The golden light around her flared instinctively, forming a shimmering barrier. The first energy blast hit it and scattered like dust. The men stepped back in shock. What is this? The ship's voice boomed again, calm and powerful. Guardian Defense Protocol. Active. Emily felt strength flow through her tiny body, light spreading from her chest outward. She raised her hands without thinking, and waves of gold light pushed back the attackers. The drones crashed into the walls, sparks flying. The men stumbled, shouting orders, their scanners beeping wildly. Leo floated beside her, his eyes wide. Emily, you are part of the ship now. She looked at him, confused and amazed. Part of it? Yes, you are its heart now. More blasts hit the barrier, but the ship answered for her. Golden roots burst from the ground, wrapping around the drones and dragging them into the earth. Then silence. The air shimmered. Smoke drifted from the broken ceiling. Emily dropped to her knees, exhausted but alive. The glow around her faded slowly. Leo floated closer and placed his hand over her heart. Thank you, Guardian, she smiled weakly. I just didn't want you to get hurt. The ship's voice softened. Defense complete. Preparing for ascent, Emily's eyes widened. Ascent? The chamber rumbled again. The ground began to shift. Dust and debris fell as the ship started rising, pulling itself free from the forest roots. Above them, sunlight poured through the opening, and the trees bent away from the glowing silver structure emerging from beneath. Leo smiled, tears of light in his eyes. We're going home. Emily looked at the light, her heart racing with fear and wonder. Home? But before she could finish the thought, the ship broke through the surface, and the world outside was no longer quiet. Helicopters circled. Sirens wailed. The real chase was about to begin. The ground trembled as the ship rose through the forest, breaking roots and trees like paper. Dirt and rainwater cascaded down its silver hull, glowing with blue veins of light. Emily held onto the railing inside the chamber as the entire structure shuddered and tilted upward. Sunlight poured in through the cracks above, blinding her for a second. When her vision cleared, she saw the world spread out below. Green fields, broken trees, and smoke where the forest had split open. They were flying. Leo hovered beside her, surrounded by soft, golden energy. His tiny face glowed brighter now, alive and full of purpose. The ship listens to you, he said softly. It follows your heart. Emily looked around, amazed and terrified. But I don't know how to fly a spaceship. You don't have to, just feel. Before she could answer, a sharp explosion echoed from behind. She turned and gasped. Dark helicopters sliced through the clouds, their lights flashing red. Drones swarmed around them like angry insects, firing blue bolts of energy that crackled against the ship's shields. They're here, Emily cried. The ship's voice filled the chamber again, calm but urgent. Hostile pursuit detected. Activating evasive protocol. With a sudden jolt, the ship shot higher, cutting through the clouds. Emily stumbled, grabbing a metal handle as the floor tilted. The world below became smaller, a patchwork of rivers and smoke trails. Leo floated near the glowing core, his small hands raised. They won't stop. They fear our light. Emily frowned, struggling to keep balance. Why are they chasing you? Leo's expression darkened. They think power comes from control, but power comes from kindness. A bright blast hit the ship's side, shaking it violently. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Emily screamed as she fell to her knees. Damage detected, the ship announced. Shields at 60%. Leo turned toward her, eyes glowing fiercely. Emily, you must guide it! I don't know how. Close eyes. Think of safety. Think of where you want to go. Emily squeezed her eyes shut, clutching the railing. She thought of her mother's smile, her small bedroom, the pink blanket that once kept Leo warm. She whispered, "Just take us somewhere safe." The ship responded instantly. The chamber brightened with gold light, and the entire vessel jerked forward with a burst of speed. Outside, the helicopters twisted and spun as a shockwave of energy rippled through the clouds. The ship became a streak of light vanishing from radar. Inside, Emily opened her eyes. The view outside the window had changed completely. They were above the mountains now, snow-capped peaks glistening in the sunlight, clouds swirling like ocean waves. Leo smiled weakly. "You did it," Emily exhaled, shaking. "I don't even know what I did." Before she could rest, the floor hummed again, louder this time. She looked at the ship's walls and saw glowing marks spreading across the surface. Strange runes, like writing made of light. "What's happening now?" "The ship remembers," Leo said softly. "It's healing." Images began forming in the air again, holograms of stars, galaxies, and faces. Emily saw other guardians, humans and aliens together, across time and worlds, connected by the same golden light. "Many guardians before you," the ship's voice said, "but few had courage of heart." Emily's eyes widened. "So I'm really one of them?" "Yes," Leo whispered. "You were chosen by kindness itself." She smiled faintly, but the moment of peace didn't last. A red alert flashed on the ceiling. "Incoming strike detected. Origin human military satellite." Emily's heart dropped. "They're going to shoot us down." The ship tilted sharply as another explosion lit the sky behind them. A streak of blue fire raced toward their position. "Hold on," the ship's voice commanded. The craft spun violently, diving toward the mountains. Snow and ice blurred past the windows. Emily clung to the wall, screaming as gravity pulled her sideways. The blast missed by inches, exploding in a flash of blue just above them. The shockwave sent them crashing into a frozen valley below. The ship slammed into the snow, sliding across the ice with a deafening roar. Metal screamed. Sparks filled the air, then silence. Emily coughed, covered in frost but still alive. The golden light around her flickered weakly. "Leo?" she gasped. From the core, Leo floated out slowly, his glow dim but steady. "I'm here." The ship's voice was faint now. "Severe damage sustained. Energy core unstable. Manual repair required." Emily stood shakily, looking around the half-buried chamber. "What do we do?" Leo pointed toward the cracked wall. "Outside. We must reach the top." "There is light there," Emily nodded. She unzipped her backpack, found her soaked pink blanket, and wrapped it around Leo again. She smiled tiredly. "Guess it's still yours." He touched the fabric gently, and for a second, it glowed faintly. The same warm pink light from the night she first found him. Outside, the wind howled through the frozen peaks. Shadows moved across the snow, distant shapes of the black-suited men descending from the helicopters. Emily looked at Leo, then back toward the light of the rising sun. "Come on," she whispered. "We're not done yet." And together they stepped out into the blinding snow, the guardian and the alien child, standing against a world that didn't understand them. The wind screamed across the mountains. Snow swirled around in silver circles as the sun began to rise, turning the frozen valley gold. Emily could barely feel her fingers, but she didn't stop walking. Each breath came out as fog, and every step crunched against the thick ice. Beside her, Leo floated weakly, wrapped in the same pink blanket she'd given him that first night. His glow was faint now, dimming like a candle burning its last light. Behind them, far in the distance, the sound of rotors echoed. The men in black suits were closing in again, their machines cutting through the cold morning sky. Emily looked at the horizon. Endless mountains, endless snow. There was nowhere to run, but she didn't feel fear anymore. She felt something different, stronger. "Leo," she whispered, "the ship's gone. We're alone." Leo shook his small head. "Not alone. Never alone. You are light. Ship lives in you now. She blinked, confused. In me? He nodded. Guardian's bond. You carry its heart. Before she could speak, the ground beneath them trembled. The snow cracked, glowing faintly from below. Soft golden lines spreading outward like veins of sunlight under the ice. Leo looked up at her, eyes full of peace. See? It still breathes. The golden lines spread faster, forming a massive circle around them. The wind stilled. The snow lifted slightly, floating in the air like dust caught in sunlight. Emily's hair rose, glowing faintly as if touched by the same power. The air hummed, gentle and alive. From the glowing cracks, a beam of light rose into the sky, straight, pure, and blinding. The helicopters froze mid-air, their instruments going dark. The soldiers shouted over their radios, but their voices were swallowed by static. Emily watched in awe. What's happening? Leo smiled softly. You finished it. Finished what? The promise. The golden light around them grew stronger, forming shapes. Transparent figures made of light surrounding them like a circle of guardians. Emily gasped. They were other beings, a tall, luminous, some human, some alien, all connected by threads of light that flowed from their chests to the sky. They are guardians, Leo whispered, from long before you. The figures bowed slightly toward Emily. She didn't understand how, but she could feel their warmth, gratitude, hope, love, emotions that filled her heart until tears ran down her cheeks. I'm not special, she said softly. I just wanted to help. Leo's golden eyes sparkled. That's why you are special. Above them, the beam of light pulsed. The clouds parted, revealing a vast opening in the sky, like a window to the stars. Through it, Emily could see thousands of shimmering points of light moving together, alive and beautiful. Leo turned toward the sky. My people, they call. I must go, Emily froze. Go, but... What about me? He floated closer, touching her forehead gently. His small hand was warm despite the cold. You already have my light, and your world needs it. Her heart tightened. Will I see you again? Leo's smile was faint but full of promise. Look at the stars. I'll be in the first one that shines. Tears rolled down Emily's face. She didn't want to let go, but deep inside she knew she had to. She nodded slowly, holding the pink blanket around him tighter one last time. Goodbye, Leo. He whispered something in his strange language. Soft, melodic, full of meaning. And then his glow grew brighter. Brighter until it filled everything around her. When the light faded, Leo was gone. The snow where he had floated shimmered faintly, leaving behind the small silver sphere that had once been part of his ship. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Emily knelt and picked it up. It was warm, alive. Behind her, the helicopters hovered, their engines silent. The men in black stood on the snow, staring in shock. None dared to come closer. Their scanners beeped wildly but showed nothing they could understand. The golden light faded from the valley, leaving only soft snow and the quiet sound of wind. Emily looked up at the sky. The clouds had cleared, and above her the stars still shimmered faintly, even in daylight. For a long moment, she stood there, holding the silver sphere close to her chest, feeling its steady pulse. Then she turned and began walking home. Weeks later, in the small town far below the mountains, people still talked about the storm of light. Some said it was a meteor, others said it was a secret experiment, but no one could explain the strange pattern burned into the valley, a perfect circle glowing faintly gold at night. Emily never told anyone the truth. She kept the silver sphere on her windowsill, where it pulsed softly every evening. Sometimes, when she couldn't sleep, she'd whisper to it, "Good night, Leo," and sometimes, just sometimes, and it would blink twice, as if answering her. One clear night years later, when Emily was older, she saw a bright star appear over the forest where it had all begun. It shone brighter than any other, steady and warm. She smiled through her tears. "I see you." And somewhere beyond the sky, in a place where light never fades, a small voice whispered back, "Thank you, Guardian."